May the words of my lips and the meditation of our hearts be always acceptable to you, O Jesus Christ, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. How do we love? Love does not ignore. Love does not excuse. Love does not enable. This is true in regard to loving our closest friend, to loving the dearest members of our family. It's true regarding love we have for our greatest enemy. If we see someone in pain, we don't ignore that pain. That's our closest friend, dear family members, are our greatest enemy. If we love them and they are in pain, we do not ignore that pain. If we see harm being done or see someone perpetuating harm on others, we don't excuse that harm. That's true. The person being harmed or doing the harm is a close friend. It's true if it is a dear member of our family being harmed or doing harm. And it is true when our greatest enemy is harmed or is doing harm. We don't excuse that harm as it is done. An abuse. If we love, we do not enable abuse. If we see someone abusing themselves or abusing others, we don't enable that action if we love them. That's true. The close friend is engaging in abuse of self or abuse of others. It's true when our dearest family members take up actions or engage in habits where they are abusing themselves or abusing others. And it's true when our enemies take up habits or engage in activities that abuse themselves or abuse others. We do not enable those actions if we love these persons. Love does not ignore. Love does not excuse. Love does not enable. A few days ago, I was sitting with a friend over coffee, and they were talking about their neighbor. Their neighbor has worked for the federal government in civil service for over 20 years. 6 months ago, their neighbor was excited because they got a promotion at work. They're now a supervisor, again, a field they have been taking part of and serving the federal government amidst for over 2 decades. But it's a new position for them. They've only been in it for a few months. And so their position is labeled probationary. And so, in the midst of the devices of the Doge team, they have lost their job. Now, the nature of their contract, the nature of their service means the fact that they can appeal this, and they might lose their probationary job as a supervisor, but they have to at least resolve back down to the position that they were serving in before. that obviously this person is in pain. This person has been harmed. And we're engaging with a series of actions that go far beyond what we consider just and appropriate mechanisms of employment for our civil service members, something that is abusive. And if we are to love, we cannot ignore, we cannot excuse, and we cannot enable. So then we get to this Doge team, right? I do young adult and campus ministry. I work with 18 to 25-year-olds every single day at the University of Arizona, at Pima Community College, and in Greater Tucson. This Doge team is made up of 18 to 25-year-olds, almost entirely. And I just have to say that that is truly not a healthy, supportive environment for 18 to 25-year-olds to be in. To be sitting in that stage of life with that much power simply is not a loving and caring place to put a person of that age and maturity within our society. At that age, if you're making a problematic social media posting, if you're saying things that are, probably a little bit sexist or racist or homophobic or transphobic, it's a great time for a small group of friends to sort of watch what you're doing because you're not on any sort of big media, social influencing reality. Just sort of say, hey, let's talk that out. Let's think about what the consequences might be for that for you for the long term and what that really means about your relationship with other people. If you're suddenly encountering and wondering how to update and improve some legacy code written in a language that hasn't been active in use for decades, well, the place to figure that out is in a quiz and testing scenario in a computer science class where the worst thing that can possibly happen to you is you fail an exam. And yes, for a college student, failing an exam might be the end of the world, but the actual consequences to others for making a mistake about how to update and change legacy coding doesn't impact hundreds, thousands of people when it happens in a classroom. And if you're sitting there and in your early 20s wondering, how am I going to streamline and make a company efficient? Look at all these numbers, all this data on all these people and just streamline it. Well, the place to do that for the first time is at a business school as a project where all you're looking at is numbers. And where if you make a mistake or don't know what you're doing, your professor sits there and says, okay, and this is where this doesn't work. And this is why this negatively impacts people in such a way that it's actually bad for business. And I say all this about these 18 to 25-year-olds on the Doge team, not to ignore the damage that they're doing. None of what I just said is an excuse. That means we should not care about the damage being done. And overwhelmingly is not about enabling them to continue doing what they're doing. But what I'm pointing out is that in loving them, we have to not ignore that damage. We can't make excuses for them just because they are young. And we overwhelmingly have to stop enabling them to be in a position where they're able to perpetuate this type of abuse. that in the midst of the Doge team being the enemy of my friend's neighbor, in the midst of the Doge team causing this pain and this harm and perpetuating this abuse that they're doing, in love for them, I want it to end. And that my love for them, my love for those who they are impacting, my love in wanting to see every single young adult in this country supported robustly to learn to make mistakes where there are very low cost, so that we don't make the same mistakes when it's a high cost scenario that are costing people their livelihood. That's the love that's happening here. And that love can bring us to resist every single bit of pain and harm and abuse that is in our political reality in this country right now. And so love. Love because love doesn't ignore pain. Love because love doesn't excuse harm. Love because love doesn't enable abuse. If you come out of this church and into this world outside its doors with that type of love, then we will be able to resist the pain, the harm, the abuse that we are encountering in the world around us at this time and in this country. In Jesus' name, amen.